The two girls and the party's leader were absent on this day, leaving only these three young men to go at it alone. What could go wrong? These guys are close friends, and without the more sensible players to deter them from their usual foolish antics, they ended up in a heap of trouble. They had been fooling around all session, insulting a banshee's appearance and decapitating the slain ogre in order to drag its rotting head around. They came across a non-hostile necromancer who was studying a ruin. Though surrounded by undead minions, he was willing to speak with them. He requested their help in a quest, but having no superiors to put an end to their rampage of jokes, the trio decided they didn't want to work for a necromancer. And so they debated on whether or not to kill him and loot his camp. In a sudden turn of events, Jed decided that his dwarf didn't want to risk the fight after not fully recovering from the previous one. I thought that perhaps the trio had decided to put an end to their antics. However, they conversed and formed a new strategy. The Dragonborn Barbarians player, Scott, thought it would be hilarious to throw the festering ogre head at the necromancer's tent. Knowing that the undead were slow to move, the trio would run off giggling, leaving a bloody mess for the necromancer to clean up. They waited for the necromancer to return to his tent, barely able to stifle their laughter, then tossed the head over the undead guards and onto the stone tiles outside the necromancer's tent. The loosely attached flesh peeled off and splattered outside the tent, and the trio began laughing aloud, turning before sprinting in the other direction. Unfortunately, the necromancer cast a hold spell on Scott's Dragonborn, which froze him in his tracks. I smiled and said, "Roll initiative." A bloody fight ensued, which ended up with Eric's druid and Scott's Dragonborn bleeding out and dying. The Dragonborn Barbarian was raised as a minion of the undead and now wanders aimlessly along the Sword Coast to this very day. Needless to say, when the other three players returned, they were not happy to hear that one character was dead and the other had to be resurrected, costing them a fortune in gold. Moral of the story? Never throw an ogre's head at a necromancer.